Breaking right now, is there regime change at Newsnight? I only ask because the British Bashing Corporation, which has studiously ignored the absolute scandal developing over Keir Starmer, his lockdown rule breaches, the truth about his secret family, and what exactly was going on with his glamorous actress vocal coach on Christmas Eve 2020, has finally been picked up by the BBC Two show. Now, I think the rest of the mainstream media has been utterly appalling on this story. Nothing to see here, says Beth Rigby of Sly News. Nothing to see here, says Paul Brand of Woke ITV. The types of journalists who absolutely hounded Boris Johnson over far, far less. And of course, you'll remember the biased hysteria from Emily Maitlis, the former presenter of Newsnight back in 2020. Watch.
Good evening. Dominic Cummings broke the rules. The country can see that, and it shocked the government cannot. The longer ministers and Prime Minister tell us he worked within them, the more angry the response to this scandal is likely to be.
And what was fascinating is one of our Outspoken favourites, Fat Faye, posted on X using those exact words. Keir Starmer broke the rules. The country can see that, and it's shocked the government cannot. The longer ministers and the Prime Minister tell us he worked within them, the more angry the response to the scandal seems likely to become. Dan Wootton in Maitlis's own words. So, as you know, I've been tracking the mainstream media for a number of days to see if they will finally give this story the attention it deserves. Nothing from the main BBC News bulletins, nothing from Woke ITV, nothing from Sly News. But last night, and you know, even though I do believe the BBC should be defunded, I will give credit where it is due. And last night, Victoria Derbyshire, in stark contrast to the former presenter of that show, the hard-left Emily Maitlis, broke ranks. Watch.
Next, did Sir Keir Starmer break lockdown rules as leader of the opposition when his voice coach came to his office to advise him on December the 24th, 2020, as he considered his response to Boris Johnson's Brexit deal? Well, the Prime Minister was asked at PMQs today to repeat his assurances that all COVID rules were followed back then by him.
And that felt like a pretty major moment to me. There was more reporting from Newsnight.
It looks like there's no legal jeopardy to Keir Starmer, but what there is are political questions. Is Keir Starmer, who was so strict about being strict during COVID, that he really felt that a voice coach was an essential key worker during the pandemic? That's where this has ended up.
Melanie on, is Sir Keir Starmer a hypocrite?
He isn't. He was working very clearly.
Well, I mean, he is a hypocrite because it doesn't matter if you were working or not. That's not what the rules were about. We had to work from home. We were not allowed to see our colleagues. I won't bore you with all of that. But what I found most fascinating is the debate that followed was actually, and I can't believe I'm seeing this, totally fair and balanced, with Victoria Derbyshire putting the Labour MP on the spot for trying to defend the indefensible. Watch.
It's been very clear if he's ever accused of any wrongdoing that he'll tackle these things head on. He missed the rules on these things.
He chose not to say today again the rules were followed.
And well, I think that the indication from the fact that the police are not conducting any kind of investigation
because of the time limit, Melanie.
And the rules here that have just been explained do cover her in this instance.
Okay. The Met Police, Deanna Davison, will not be opening an investigation because 3 years has passed, as Nick explained. Is that the end of it?
I don't see how this is the end of it. I don't see as a politician when you make an entire part of your personality and political character being stickler for the rules. You can't be a lawbreaker and a lawmaker to then not pass the sniff test on something like this. I remember December 2020. I was in London moving flats completely on my own, and I was due to go and see my family. London moved into Tier 4. I spent Christmas completely on my own. That's not a sad tale compared to the tales of so many people. To think a voice coach thought it was fine to jump on a train, travel down in a mask in order to deliver a service that could easily be done by Zoom. do you need a voice coach in order to deliver a speech about something on COVID? I don't think you do. It's about the substance, not about the delivery. I honestly, on this one, I think it's absolutely baffling that poor Labour MPs like Melanie are being sent out to defend this line, which is completely indefensible.
Of course it is. Of course it is. But my shock is that it is the BBC who is actually having this debate. And I will repeat, while it wasn't on the main news channel, I will give Victoria Derbyshire credit for doing that on Newsnight. She is turning that show around unbelievably against all odds. And I would say to all of those other presenters, like, well, you see them all there, Maitlis, Brand, Sam Coates, Kevin Maguire, Robert Peston, Beth Rigby, why are you staying silent? You cannot think this was the most important story in the world when it applied to Boris Johnson, and it is not even worthy of a mention when it applies to Keir Starmer. Now, Charlie Sanson, I know we are completely aligned when it came to lockdowns. You left the Conservative Party as a result of this madness. And I should remind everyone, I am not for a single second saying that I believed in any of these rules or regulations. I didn't follow them. They were a farce. They destroyed the country. But the point is, it was Starmer who was Mr. Pious. It was Starmer who wanted to destroy other lives if they did not follow the rules. And to me, the complete willful blindness from the media over this just exposes them as activists rather than journalists, which is why I do think that was quite a moment last night on Newsnight. And I hope people realise that even though I am usually highly critical of the BBC, if people are prepared to do something good in the mainstream media, I will point it out too. But first, did you know that sleeping less than 6 hours per night doubles the risk of early death? Poor sleep is also linked to obesity, heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, depression, and a weakened immune system. Now, I've struggled with sleep for a while, actually. I tried everything, but found it difficult to wind down and sometimes lay my head down on that pillow before 2 a.m. And I'm not alone. The CDC reports over 35% of adults in the US sleep less than the recommended 7 hours. Many sleep supplements contain melatonin and other ingredients that cause dependencies, morning grogginess, and actually lose their effectiveness over time. So that's why I now take Evening Bean, a brand new product by Verso. After 3 years of protecting the formula, they created a melatonin-free drink mix with clinically studied, patented ingredients. It's formulated to calm an active mind, help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and improve deep and REM sleep, all without creating dependencies or causing morning grogginess. Now, I actually look forward to drinking my Evening Bean every night, not only because it helps me fall asleep faster without having to get up in the middle of the night, but I wake up easier too. And it tastes so good. It's actually become my new nightcap. And don't worry, if you're vegan or on a keto diet, it's absolutely perfect to fit in with all of that. So click the link in the show description or head on over to buy.ver.so/outspoken and use the coupon code outspoken at checkout to save 15% on your first order. Try Evening Bean tonight and you'll wake up feeling refreshed tomorrow. Let me just repeat the address for you. buy.ver.so/outspoken and use the coupon code outspoken at checkout to save 15%. But now, back to the show.
Well, if you're praising the BBC, they must have done something quite phenomenal.
Owl's just frozen over.
Yeah, exactly that. There's some pigs flying as well. Don't tell David Cameron. And what I would say about the comparison between what happened during COVID with Boris and this is obviously at the time it was heightened and everyone was excited by COVID, scared by it, over embellishing it. And obviously I left because I saw what was duplicitous government, really. You know, we can do one thing, you can't. And Keir Starmer's done exactly the same. I wonder if he can get his money back on that voice coach, though, because if that is to serve the country in any way, shape or form, you know, it beggars belief. He's so boring and so monotone. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine that voice coach leaving a session going, I've done a good job today. There's no way.
No, so why was she there? Why was she there on Christmas Eve 2020 when Starmer was posting pictures, making it out as if he was just spending time with his family? Luke, the official Labour Party narrative is now that she was actually more than just a voice coach. She was a key part of Starmer's preparation to deliver this address on Brexit. Are you buying any of it?
No. Well, I do believe she was the voice coach. Keir Starmer clearly needs a voice coach. Clearly needs people to try and get him to speak like a normal human being. But it does seem a bit suspicious now. And I think the problem he has is that he was such a zealot about the rules and he went after absolutely everyone, especially Boris Johnson. I think fairly. I mean, Johnson made the rules, so it's only fair that he had to stick to them about not following the rules. So that means he's just set himself up now to be scrutinized that every single move he made, did he perfectly keep the rules like he was telling everyone else should do? So I think it's hypocrisy from him if he has broken the rules or if he did do things at the margin, which is perhaps what will transpire from this thing, where technically maybe it was allowed, but clearly against the spirit of the rules. So, yeah, not a good look from Starmer.
Well, no, of course not, because just a reminder, this is what he was telling us all at the time.
It's very important that whatever the rules are, everybody follows them. So I say follow the government advice. Whatever tier you're in, follow the rules. It's very important that we all say that, the government and the opposition.
I mean, Charlie, it still blows my mind that we just accepted that. I mean, I never did, but the vast majority of the population literally bought in to that level of control from our leaders. It's so horrifying. Yeah. Charlie, I do wonder, though, and actually I'm interested to know if there's a generational divide here between the two of you. Do we have any right, as the British public, to know about Keir Starmer's personal life? Does it matter that he hasn't been straight with us about the shape of his family, for example? Does it matter that we don't know what was really going on in his troubled marriage to Lady Victoria when she disappeared from the campaign trail for all of that time until Lord Ali started throwing money at her for clothes? I mean, do we have a right to know that, given he is Prime Minister?
Who do you want to start with first? Me?
Yeah, you kick off, Charlie.
I suppose I'm a bit 50-50 because I think that if you are a good politician, and there are very few of those, but if you are a good politician and the media do what the media does, then you have your whole life turned upside down unnecessarily. I think a private life is... it's tricky for me, actually. I think, me personally, I like to keep my family outside of my political opinions and my views because I think that, why should they be tarred with the same brush as me? Because I'm quite happy to be outspoken, no pun intended. And, maybe they're not. So I think there is an element of family privacy. There should be some. And to get more to the point, what do people really care about? They care about getting a doctor's appointment. They care about being seen at the hospital when they've got a serious illness. They care about the police turning up. They care about driving down the road without puncturing their car tyres. They care about not being stabbed when they walk down the street in London. That's what they care about. So whether or not the Prime Minister's got 20 kids by 20 different women, that's entirely up to him. Can he do the job? That's what we should be focused on.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's an interesting point. And Luca, I mean, I don't agree with that, by the way. I think as Prime Minister, we do actually have a right to know. But I'm interested because I get the sense that the younger generations actually don't give a damn about the personal lives of their leaders and don't give a damn that you don't know the names of Starmer's children.
Well, I don't want to speak for my whole generation, but I don't give a damn, to be honest, about if what his name is children, or I mean, maybe if you had 20 kids from 20 women, that would be something that might be interesting. But other than that, I think if you want to have the top people go into politics, leave successful careers elsewhere, and get themselves into Parliament, which we should all want, because that ultimately gets better governance, then you need to make it attractive to go into politics, especially at the high level. And if going into politics means people snooping around your private life, potentially putting your kids in danger, because we know, look, we just started today talking about the case in Southport, and we know also with David Amos, there are dangerous people out there who will target people. And I think it's sensible for a father to wish to protect his children, to not want to have them in the public eye. It's not their fault that their father's Prime Minister. And also when it comes to his wife, as long as there's been no law breaking or anything like that, I don't think it's in the public interest to know about our leaders' private lives. And ultimately, if there is snooping, I think all that will do is put good people off going into politics.
Yeah, I mean, look, I sort of get that. I would argue that what went on during that COVID era was completely different because these
Well, that complicates
politicians.
things. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because these politicians were literally playing with our lives. They were literally stopping me seeing a relative just before she died. To me, that is unforgivable. And the fact that Starmer thought he needed his glamorous actress voice coach in the room with him on Christmas Eve. You know, I look, if maybe if all of us hadn't been put through that hell, I would understand it. But I guess that's why there was such outrage, for example, about Matt Hancock having the affair and he had to go, because it was just an extraordinary period of time. And I think we should all learn from that we should never again accept politicians taking that much control over our lives. But do stand by Luca Watson and Charlie Sansom, because I promised some fun today, and this is fun. A TV cat fight has broken out between Kay Burley, who's just departed Sly News, and Camilla Tominey of GB News. I'll tell you what they both said in just 1 minute, so don't go anywhere. Plus, the big reveal of today's Greatest Britain and Union Jackass. Get your votes in right now on the live chat. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.